Okay.
I'm sure there's very few aquariums, and I'm sure there's even fewer opportunities to.
Especially to run it and CEO, you have to be a really special person to get that.
I'm pretty sure those people kind of die with those positions, so.
As after the one person I just heard was there for 17 years.
Yeah.
It's like university, it's like, you know, there's only so many. And that means moving to a new place, moving your own family.
Yeah.
That's exciting. We left the aquarium.
We were just talking tonight's Tide Talks there too.
Oh, okay.
That's scheduled for that too.
We've been really liking November mornings and the
Oh, are you?
nights. Just less crowded.
Yeah, no, exactly with the kids and so forth. That's awesome. Yeah.
We're about the house.
Oh,
Get ready for that.
right. Yeah, look, there's like a group of people that go at like weird times during the day with their kids, and so now we join them.
Oh, great.
Hey, we're just talking about you.
Talking about you.
All the strollers head to the aquarium at like 7 a.m.
Oh, is it started at 8 or what is
But the member mornings, they start early, which is nice. I think the member mornings are like 7:30. All the people with babies are awake anyways.
Unless he. Oh, okay.
Day before he leaves. Closing house. Today, I ride along with a group for Route 1. It's like 20.
How's your new job working out?
Regular bus.
It's been good.
Oh,
It's
okay.
been
It
good.
was great. Yeah.
But it was,
It's a huge
That
company.
time of day, yeah.
yeah, it's just, it's something that works for like their.
People who have been
folks,
involved in
their
it,
social
as
media.
an exhibitor or a sponsor or
Yeah,
whoever,
they have a cigar.
for 10,
So we
20,
took the
30
bus
years.
Just moved through Tampa,
And so
first time
women
doing
who
this,
used
and then
to
just ended back at a cigar place.
They're-
So they were really interested.
And I think,
But yeah, it was just like.
have you ever been in like a hoarder house?
Yeah.
Where, like, it makes no sense to me that there's organized chaos for someone else potentially. That's a little bit how I feel. It makes so many sense, but like to her, they probably don't. She probably had so much in her head. She did it year over year.
Right.
It's a lot of Excel sheets, a lot of binders, and
Yep. He was an operator.
there's some people who are like,
The
hey, I
benefits
know
from
I'm
an
registered,
operations
but I always had the
like,
same thing. I've never had to register. Or you just
you'd imagine
invoice me. I'm like, well,
you know,
there's
happiness is
no
like,
way
you
for
know,
me to
more
have done that.
Yeah.
So I had some.
Plus you're in there working over, right?
Yeah.
Just writing it down instead of the 400, but I'm gonna have to look at the numbers and see if that's.
Little
changed.
quirks.
Like I understand it. for like
Yeah.
the
Working
writers
to
essentially.
get
Yeah.
everything
It also
coordinated on
depends
the
on obviously
website.
where you are. Along the
And
way.
like an app and
Because it might
maybe
be, it's a little bit of a ways.
to
But,
hang away from
Yeah.
too many spreadsheets.
so part of that, though,
Binders.
he wants to buy it for
3 hours.
Yeah. I guess interview customers and all kind of.
Oh, interesting.
There's Steve.
But hey, you know, that's the thing, it's like, it's only, and what's on the day, you're talking about.
Right.
Actually,
You have to do it in a day or something.
Yeah. So I know it's operations now.
We've had this,
You should.
thing going on for like 2.5 years, and finally got the second one's running today. Sounds like one alive. So we've got 3. And, all been out, except for one since the hurricane. And we finally got 2 going. Yeah,
What floor are you on?
23rd.
So how long usually is it? Do you have to go up like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning to go down and just on the elevator? And how long would it take you now?
I have to plan to get 15 minutes ahead, so you make sure. Usually we just walk it, go down.
Really? Because what's parking? How many floors?
Parking's on the second for us.
Okay.
So, and we don't have 13, so we're still going down 20.
Wow. You get your exercise in.
Nancy makes a habit now. She does it every day. She goes up. So.
Hi.
Hey there, how are you?
Yes. Oh, sorry, I hear you.
Sean coming to that?
Uh-huh.
No, Rachel.
Yeah.
I know. I know. I was on my lunch with Caroline. And then I saw Rachel at the wine fest.
Oh, really?
Hi.
But Julia, what about Rachel?
She's got a new role, so she's no longer at the partnership.
She
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And where did she go?
So she'll be working with block by block, which is someone that the E4 CRA contracted. So they're a nationwide company that provides like clean and safe programs.
Okay,
So the partnership team, they manage that in-house.
okay.
Most downtowns are CRAs contracted block by block. So she's their VP of business development. So she'll be going to different cities and towns, evaluating their need, getting them a proposal.
And her replacement is,
I don't know if they've gotten that far yet.
so you're out, she's out, many other people gone?
I don't think so. I know they hired someone to replace my role.
Now they're just gonna spread out a little, taking over this and,
What Sean said.
supposedly he's gonna be on.
Yeah, that's what Courtney. Hello.
Hello.
We were just talking about you. Hi, Michael.
Yeah. 5:33.
Yeah. Andy hasn't texted me, so I think he's here shortly.
I know he's not allowed coming
Boy,
here. Hi, Sean. No. Okay. I guess we've got, I'm Mark, and I'm been asked to step in for Andy right now as a chair to start our meeting, so calling it to order. Basically, before we do that, on roll call, do you want to just,
You have people go around the CEC members.
all the CAC members, Brett, here, Sean, you're a new CAC member, right?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was me. So what is our total for number of members?
Oh,
Because I was confused when I was looking at the minutes to try and figure out, I thought it was 7.
yeah.
Because obviously in order to get to quorum, we need 4, then it's 7.
Yeah, currently, yeah.
Okay, so we got 1, 2, Julie's here, 3, Steve's here, 4. So we got 4 of the 7. Okay. I guess the next session is public comments. So do we have anyone here that would like to make an opening public comment? I know in the past, we've been pretty liberal in allowing comments to come in when we get to the various sessions. I assume that's not going to change in the future. So I don't see anybody willing to make a public comment. So we'll move on then to the first action item, approval of the February minutes. Hopefully all the committee members have had a chance to look at them. Do we have, if there's any changes to the minutes anybody would like to make? If not, can we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Okay, got second, all in favor? Unanimous here. Okay, presentations. Who wants, Tony or Andy? Who wants to
I
start?
guess it's me, because I'll hand it off to Tony. Good evening. Thank you for having us. We're representing the Florida Aquarium. There's 2 of us tonight, soon only be 1 going forward. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's talk about what's going on at the Florida Aquarium. It's March 2025, which means we have kicked off our celebration for the 30th anniversary of the Florida Aquarium, which will be March 31st. It's been a wonderful 3 decades. And so it's interesting. We're not doing a major celebration. We're not looking at it as throwing a big party. We are just, you'll see a lot of interesting communications, a lot of retrospectives. We're sharing a lot of the great stories of the work that's been done over the last 30 years. We are trying to support our local Tampa Bay community. So for the month of March, we have, it's $30 for anyone from Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas County. So we've got that going on right now. There's some other great activities, but we are gearing up for Saturday, which is the beginning for us of spring break. So we are anticipating a very healthy spring break. A lot of visitors is what we expect to see over about a 2-week period, especially since I think Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Pasco all line up with the same week off next week, as does most of the universities. So it should be jam-packed fun at the aquarium. In addition, we are in the busiest turtle season we have ever seen at the Florida Aquarium right now. I believe there are upwards of 55 or 56 turtles, our favorite being the swamp monster. There's something going on in Florida with the cold snap and the currents that happened in the last couple of months. There is a significant need for turtle rehab, and most have not yet recovered. Most rehab facilities have not yet recovered from the hurricanes. So the Florida Aquarium has become one of these spots where turtles have been sent. So this is a record for us. We've never had this many turtles in the facility. At this time, they're all down in our Apollo Beach facility and being well cared for, including swamp monster, which was an animal that was clearly suffering for months before it just washed ashore. And we're working hard to give all of them a chance of going back out. So that's a lot of fun and exciting stuff for us. We have a parents' night out on March 29th, so an exciting opportunity with activities for the kids so the parents can wander the aquarium and enjoy the aquarium. So that is probably our next major public. And then on April 6th, I think is the date. It's the first Saturday of the month moving forward. Will be a members morning for us. So we're now shifting and giving dedicated members mornings on Saturdays, and the first Saturday of every month. That will happen. April is the beginning of that. So that's fun. That's exciting times. I miss anything, Tony, of import there? For me, this is my last meeting here that I will get to see you. My last day with the Florida Aquarium will be on Friday. I have been, and my last day in Tampa will be on March 30th. I have been given the opportunity to take the president and CEO role at Tennessee Aquarium in Chattanooga. And so it's a big move for me. It's a huge opportunity. And the Florida Aquarium has been a true blessing to help me get there. Roger German has been a real friend and a mentor and a coach, and actually helped coach me through the entire interviewing process. So it's really been a lot of fun. And there's a huge opportunity for me in Chattanooga, and I'm excited to take that on. So that is why Tony joined me tonight. Tony's been at some of these meetings before, but moving forward, Tony will be the one who goes up to this meeting every month with great things to talk about. It will not be me unless you want to hear about Tennessee Aquarium, and doing some great things to hear about that. But Tony will be here on a consistent, regular basis moving forward, and he's going to stay connected and represent the organization well. So it's been fun being able to come here every month and talk about the great stuff that we have going on. It's been amazing work in the community. So thank you for that opportunity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey.
So before I turn over the gavel to Andy, who showed up, and to Courtney, as I'm sure you got Ed's here also now. So I really appreciate your insights at these meetings. Thank you for coming. I know it's also, it takes up some personal time to end up coming. It really keeps us, the aquarium is obviously a key focal point for the Channel District, and really do appreciate your support and all that. So unless other people have comments, I'm going to then turn it over to the gavel to Andy and go from there.
Nope. Did y'all read the minutes?
Yes, we did.
I was at last meeting, it's not on here. Didn't do that in
Okay.
the last meeting.
We did go.
I think like 3 minutes late. I think.
Yeah, great, thank you.
I just would like to, Andy, we would truly been miss you. You've just been fantastic. Your transparency, showing up, caring. Thank God we got Tony leaving in good hands, but you'll truly be missed. Thank you. Okay. And good luck to you and
I'll be
your
back
family.
every once in a while. I was told when I come back I have to pick double to get in the aquarium. We'll see. See what I can work out.
Andy is just an amazing, impactful leader, and it makes no surprise to anybody that he will be doing that at the same end. Chattanooga. We're very proud of him. It's bittersweet for all of us at the aquarium.
Yes.
But thank you, Andy, for all you've done.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, Miss, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, at this point, we will go into streetcar, free fare grant. That's, that Michael? Michael, you've been involved in this for 30.
Yeah, I was gonna compliment you, brother, because you have been involved in this all the time. Yeah, your chair and I go back, I don't know, 50 years, 100, it's been a long time. Thank you for having us tonight. I'm here asking for money for kids. And what's probably not surprising, that let me have my colleagues introduce themselves.
Frank Wazinski with Hart.
Donnie Bear with Hearts Community Engagement Team.
These gentlemen are here to answer any technical questions you might have. And so here's the sort of the ask. The short story is that 6 years ago, CRA was carrying 450,000 people a year. We had 10 million headways. Nobody was happy. It was fair. David Quinn, who's been almost the new DOT District 7 secretary, really wanted to encourage success in the streetcar, really toward the extension, which hasn't happened yet, but it's still on the books and ready to go when the city comes up with the local match for it. At the time, he offered us $1 million a year for 3 years. And the requirements were that it become free, that we go back to 15 for 20-minute headways, which means you run 5 cars instead of 4. Full morning hours, extended evening hours, 15-minute headways, and over the course of those first 3 years, we got well over 1 million riders. They gave us $700,000 a year, which the city had to kind of manage for the next 2 years. We finished this last year at 1.3.5 million people. Should be at least that, if not more this year. This year, that $700,000 expired because the city hasn't moved forward with the extension. So we were stuck with needing that extra money. So we've asked the 3 CRAs to help us cover that. It's roughly $233,000 for Eagle 1 and 2, small district in downtown. So anything you two would like to add, or we can answer any questions you have?
Yeah, I guess the one thing I would just add to that is part of this, it's in the presentation. We did do a public input process to this, gauging input on whether or not, gathering feedback on whether or not people wanted the fare, and if so, kind of the fair elasticity of that. And so there's a couple of things that's kind of interesting. It's hard to tell in the presentation, but if you go to page, it's the public input page, let's see, where it says who responded, and it's by zip code. The big blob, it doesn't have it on there, but the big blob, yeah, it's this right here. That's actually downtown residents. And if you would have done that 6 years ago, it wouldn't have been downtown and channel-side residents. So I thought that was one of the big things that we found that was really interesting from those that we surveyed. The majority lived in downtown channel-side, channel district, excuse me, and Ybor City. And then the other thing I kind of wanted to point out was simply it's the options to address budget shortfall. And basically it's our service planning team did a fare elasticity study. And the main point being is that regardless of the option, if we implemented a $1 fare or a $2.50 fare or whatever, we would still require a subsidy in order to keep service the way it is. And so it's kind of one of those things where what's the danger of rolling out even a $1.50 fare versus going free, right? That convenience factor is something to be said. So it's kind of the two things I wanted to point out. I don't know, Johnny.
No, I think that's it. Yeah, so we left a lot of information in here just about what people were saying. So if you have any questions about what the sentiment was about adding the fare back or how people are using the streetcar currently, we can certainly answer those questions.
Some comments or questions, go ahead. Or you guys are finished?
Yeah.
Okay. A couple of questions I have, and I just got educated on this. I know within being an owner resident within the Channel District, we do have, in our tax bill, there is a line item there, and more so for other people that don't realize this, that the line item is there. I understand, as I just got educated, it's not for residential, it's commercial, is what that goes for. So that's the reason, if you haven't, and I didn't know that, the reason it is zero on residential tax bill. So we are not funding, there was a concern that we're already funding that, and now you're also coming to us, to the Channel District to ask for money. Question I have is, you've got your spread on your allocation of money. You're asking, how did you come up with those dollars? I think ours is about 278.
Yeah, I believe that's what our service planning team found to be the difference between, it's, are you talking about the current revenue?
Yes.
What you currently contribute?
Yes. You know how that,
No, the
that
question,
number came
the
about.
question was, how do we come up with a split for 700,000? Right.
Oh, yeah, so that was just it was just the equal split of, the 700,000 is the missing revenue piece.
Right,
Yeah, and so we just figured it would be an equal contribution between the CRAs.
Okay, thank you on that. So I have one other one, I'm sorry, Steve. One of the things, looking at your financials, and I don't know if it was for one of the meetings or not, that took over the multiple years or what you have. One thing that stuck out, and I come from consumer products industry, that's impressions mean a lot. And I noticed, because when people talk to you about your ridership, the amount of people there, there's not even talking about the number of people that see your streetcars. It has enhanced significantly, but your overall revenue has not increased from your marketing side of it. And wondering why it is. I mean, you've got a valuable tool there, but why aren't you generating more revenue? Because your overall impressions have gone up significantly.
So the streetcar advertising budget, the streetcar advertising revenue has actually grown within the last, say, 2 years. So one thing, what we have tried to do is we've tried to kind of grow the fringes. And so when you look at it now, we do, I know people probably hate them, but we do a lot of streetcar wraps. In the last 2 years, we've actually expanded that. We actually have partners with the Florida Aquarium and Hattrick Station, et cetera. Orlando Health has Dick Greco Station. So we've actually grown the revenue side over actually in the last 2 years. So like Dick Greco Station itself, that brought in roughly about $100,000 in revenue last year. So we're trying, these are multi-year agreements, and it is something that, it takes time to kind of grow that side, but we have been trying to do the best we can to grow those.
So I'm wrong, I guess, what I saw. It looked like the same amount of dollars over the last 3 or 4 years was being contributed from advertising.
No, so yeah, so the last 2 years or so, revenue's grown roughly about 200,000 or so.
But I think you got a great opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, you're looking for money, and that's probably one of the easier ways to end up getting.
And I do want to say too, if you have a business and you're interested in advertising with us, we have multiple opportunities. Yeah, please reach out. Yeah.
So you're basically asking for 233 from us. Is that for free rides, or I'm saying another whole thing for implementing different pricing?
Yeah, this was just simply the fare scenario that we did. So it was just a breakdown. We included this just as a reference, just to show you if we say we implemented $1 fare, we're expected to have roughly about a loss of 300,000 rides, and then still need $900,000 or so in the coming years, I guess, to do that.
So the money goes to the free fares, the frequency,
question.
and the hours as well. So if we don't get this money, the streetcar, we're going to look at starting it at 12 p.m. again, having it come every 20 to 30 minutes again, and charging fare.
Yeah, and so that breakdown is the lost revenue piece, the fare revenue piece, the free fare is 700,000. So
What have the other 2 CRAs done?
they contributed the same, or voted to.
Is this just for this year? Is this to keep you going for a couple of years?
This is for this fiscal year. Yeah, so in August, the THS board actually passed a shortfall, so covering that, trying to cover that lost revenue.
Is there a plan so that you guys don't have to come every year to pass for money, that you guys can just be guaranteed it for the future? Because you all are important. You should exist, and you shouldn't have to continuously annually ask for money, in my opinion. But I don't know, if this is me being nosy, if there's a plan.
That's a great question, yeah.
Well, if you know the history of the streetcar system, when Dick Greco agreed to build it, we sat down with him. I was a member. This was the Streetcar Society back before you were born, probably. And he said, "Look, I'll put the local match. Streetcars are built with local funding, state funding, and federal transit administration funding. So we raised the money for the streetcar system. He said, I'll do that, but I do not want to ask the city council to fund the operating costs. So you guys have to figure it out. So we raised an endowment fund, one of which has been spent by the extremely expensive, almost $1 million a year CSX insurance we have to pay. So every year we need help from the city. When we formed this system, Hart was going to operate it. The city was building it, and Dick Greco wanted somebody in the middle to kind of oversee what Hart was doing. So Hart had to contract with THS to run it. The system is the city's financial responsibility. They own the tracks, they are financially responsible for it. So when shortfalls occur, it's basically the city's responsibility. The THS board tries in a lot of ways to help meet that, but the CRAs have been very helpful, frankly, every year since it opened. And will continue to be. We will continue to be looking for funds from the CRAs. We are, Frank and I and several other Hart staff are going to, we're going to take a shot at some capital fundraising from charitable sources this spring, including the Vinnick Foundation, Visit Tampa Bay, some other targets, TICO. So hopefully we can supplement our budget with funding from some new sources. But the honest truth is that it's always been a bit of a struggle. And the fact that it's free has made it more expensive. But honestly, we think that almost 1.5 million people a year now use it, depend on it. It's in everybody's marketing campaign. We just gave permission to the Lightning to today to do a video of the streetcar that we're going to use at some big game in a couple of weeks. I mean, it's like it's part of the community's gestalt now, and so it's always a struggle to pay for it. It's a struggle to pay for a lot of things, but if we can keep it free, what Frank didn't really point out, unless you were listening carefully, is that the response about charging a fare again was disastrous. People hated the idea. Not only because you go back to 20-minute headways and people have to line up and charge a fare, and we're going to spend $1 million to figure out the equipment that's going to be required in streetcars. I mean, the whole thing is a nightmare, and it drops ridership and it makes everybody unhappy. And so if we have the capacity to keep it free, it's a killer winner. And we're trying very hard to get the mayor and city council to help find the local match money to build this extension, which, as you know, it's so funny because when we built the streetcars, Andy knows, there was nobody living in Ybor, which is, by the way, there were a few people in Ybor, and they complained about the special assessment district, so we excluded homestead residential 24 years ago. That's how that happened. We looked at adding homesteaded properties back in, it only adds about 115, 30,000 bucks a year. It isn't worth the heartburn that everybody would feel about it. So we're looking at other ways to do this. But the point is that we want an extension. It has huge possibilities now that there are people living all over the north of the downtown, all over Tampa Heights, all over Ybor. The medical schools here. I mean, there's so many things happening that weren't happening 25 years ago. The streetcar has become an integral part of the community. And so, you know, it isn't cheap. It isn't free. Well, it's free to ride. It isn't free to ride.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we are.
Question. Did you have a
Okay,
question?
would
as well?
you like to-
Okay, why don't you go ahead?
Just real quick, I'm Ken Stoltenberg, I'm the developer of Grand Central Kennedy, Channel Club, the Publix, and the Scripps Channel District. And I would just like to say we have a public station right by Grand Central. We overbuilt our parking. And we've seen over, say, the past 3 to 5 years, as water streets happen, we get quite a few people when there's an event, not just hockey, but an event at Hamlin Arena, that come specifically to park in our garage, take the trolley from that station down to Emily and back. And, traffic in Water Street can be pretty intense right now, even if you're getting an Uber or a Lyft. So we found a lot of people would rather park, a 10-minute walk away to take the trolley down and take it back. So, we sold the retail at Grand Central about 3 years ago. I'm an investor in the new entity, so I'm privy to the financial statements. And we're making money from people parking in our garage, getting on the trolley and going to Water Street for events and hockey games and that type of thing. So we're making money on this. So we're in total support of the ask here. And I think that as Water Street continues to build out, that's going to be to our benefit. So if we have to spend some CRA dollars, I haven't done a calculation on what Grand Central kicks in, but it's certainly hundreds of thousands of dollars, much more than they're asking. Just our problem. That's all.
Question, you said the other CRAs are going to match their current contribution going forward? And you're asking us for roughly $50,000 less than what our current contribution is? You said 230 at the beginning. Of this.
Yeah, so it's, I think the e-board's 234, and I think it's 233, 233.
I don't know if match is the right word.
Yeah, match
So
is
the number that we need is 7. So that's current based on historical,
Right.
what's been happening. The current need is 700,000. We just divided that into thirds.
Okay.
So if you look at the other
At the
page,
beginning of the meeting, gentleman said 230,000.
so if you look at the other page, that's the number. So if you look at this page here, these are the, so channel district 233, downtown CRA 233.
Okay, all right.
E-board, the
Yeah,
number,
it's probably-
it's missing another number, but that adds up to
Okay.
33 as well.
That's-
Sorry, it's a little confusing.
That's fine. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mike, I guess you've been involved with at the very beginning, back in 2002, with this, correct?
David Koenig and I incorporated DHS.
Yeah, so thank you, because you spent a lot of time with this. He said volunteer, not a paid person. So thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I support this 100%. Do have one question. And we've got one question, and it's actually for y'all. I looked here that the second largest user is Hamlin Arena. And if they're getting the benefit of this, and they're the second largest user, how much money are they putting in this? Because that's tax exempt based on the county owning that building based on the Snyder case. Excuse me, not the Snyder case, the Sebring case. That there's no ad valorem taxes being charged on Hamlin. So my question is, they're the second largest user. What are they putting in?
Yeah,
The answer is 0. And I mentioned earlier, I don't know if any of you probably know David Small. He's been the speaker of water forever. Smart cookie. So we just agreed to let them, people that own and run the arena, use the streetcar in this one special video performance. We will be calling on them for an annual contribution this spring. Because it's time. Just as visit Tampa Bay, you all know Santiago. His marketing includes a streetcar endlessly. And so he's on our list. And the Kennedy Foundation is on our list. There are a lot of people that aren't paying any special assessment, and so really are benefiting enormously. And I think frankly, I think they'll all be open to some contributions.
Maybe the low hanging fruit on this is, they donate $50,000 to a hero every game for a charity nonprofit. Maybe this could be the nonprofit. With Michael, actually, you being the person that's actually been volunteering your time for 22 years.
Oh, you guys fun.
Yeah. But my point is that that's low hanging fruit because they're already given the 50,000. And they're getting the second largest benefit of it. So I guess what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be asking you next year, come for requests. So I do like yearly requests because it keeps everybody accountable.
Sure.
I'm gonna be asking how much you got from the annual.
Yeah, has to be in August.
Okay.
And one thing I would point out too, he had mentioned about people parking and taking the streetcar to go to a game, to attend a game. We see a lot of workers park in either, Kadrisha or even transfer from the bus side. And Emily Arena workers taking the streetcar into work. So you're not wrong. You're not wrong. So that's definitely, that's why we definitely want to have them on.
Okay,
add them to the
just
list.
it's an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So at this point, I'll ask for a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the request for 233,000 for the streetcar.
Okay, can I get a second? Steve, second. I think any further discussion? I see none. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Okay, thank you, Michael, and thank you. Thank you all. And next year we'll be asking you about how much you
Frank and I will have some results for you when we come back in August.
Thank you. And thank you so much for all your time that you spent on this.
It's funny, you have no idea sometimes how long you've been involved with something. Until you think about it one day. And, Andy, you've been doing the same thing for a long time, so I really appreciate you too. So thanks again.
Nice to see you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye now. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Courtney.
Yes, thank you.
Justin will be here in the morning.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, good. We will proceed to our staff reports.
Yes, I just wanted to provide an update on the landscaping and the irrigation that we discussed when Kenny Evans attended our last meeting. And as he reported, he was working with legal to uncover the agreements that exist with the help of legal to just find out, where those agreements are, who has one. So that's just going to take a little time. So I don't have that obviously this month already. So Ken's just working with legal on that. The current landscaper, we've requested that they do the channel side drive medians, which is starting next week. So you'll see work out there with them taking, removing all of the existing plants, planting new plants, and then removing, hauling away there's a dead palm tree that's in the median. So they're going to take that out and remove it. And so Nelson Tree Farms will be starting on that next week. So we're starting there. And then, we'll see how that looks and how everyone feels about the appearance of the channel side medians.
Is this the medians that just got installed a couple of years ago?
All the channel side drive medians
All that's recently been redone.
with landscaping.
Yeah,
All that
it's not.
in the last few, that's not an issue. That looks fine.
Oh, you think so? Okay, because I'd always heard
I mean,
channel
that's
side
all
was
I
the issue.
understand.
It's the channel district, probably your non-key driving, so it's not channel side drive, it's not Meridian, it's the other streets, 11th, 12th, and your side streets, which don't get any attention. Or profit attention.
We
Absolutely.
lost a bunch of the trees in the hurricane. It happens, but they cut them off. They just have paper on them. They're there for.
Yeah, Kenny's last meeting, we had a power showing specifically the Madison Street area, which, it's a city park. You can't believe how terrible that looks. So, Courtney, there's a miss on this one.
Okay, that's why I reported back on. So I'll just see if I can get some clarification.
But just to add another thing, again, I highly recommend that this topic sits on our agenda every meeting, that we don't lose sight of this. So we need to get updates every meeting on irrigation and landscaping within the channel district. until I think everybody's somewhat feeling comfortable.
Yeah, I think that's a huge waste of money. Yeah. But if they decided to do that, I mean, that's what we're going for.
Oh, I was thinking.
I mean, if you want to look around the garage and the court, the garage right across the street from Sparkman, that you guys have, that area needs some assistance. And all the streets, 12th Street needs a lot of work up and down. But,
Well, lots of property owners have, and I know this because of Grand Central, we have an agreement with the city where we maintain the landscaping around Grand Central, but not all of them do. It's kind of scattershot. I know Inscription does. I know Channel Club does not. I don't know why. They don't. There's not a lot of landscaping to take care of, but
And Ken, you're an important entity that's absolutely very much correct. Part of what Courtney ended up saying that we've had a request from the last meeting is, and when we had the city come for Park and Rec, we're concerned about from the curb to the sidewalk area, which we understand there's contracts that have been set up for property owners to maintain and take care of that. Unfortunately, the city cannot provide us or tell us which ones have that, which ones don't. Because there's an interest here of trying to, we have a landscaping budget within the CAC here to end up helping complement or fund if that, wherever those might not be, because it is an issue.
that should just be real quick.
Absolutely.
That should be on the list to get a CO. For Channel Club, it was not on the list. For Inscription, it was on the list. I don't know why. I can tell you as a developer, the only thing you want to get is your CO, and you're certainly not going to point out things that weren't brought up. But it should be on the checklist that there has to be a maintenance agreement in place with the property. Done. One question.
The other thing, just for this committee, because I've been working on the side on this, there's been requests I've received from owners, residents. Why don't we have the consistent tabby look on our sidewalks throughout the community? It is predominantly out there in a lot of areas, and the tabby is where you've got sort of a swirl look on the sidewalks. Hopefully that helps give it. I'm not an engineer, I can't describe this any better than that. But we have a lot of areas that it's never consistently get done. I ended up putting a request in to end up going in, and basically I got blown off on the request. And I'm looking, if you can help me, on who do we need to raise this? Because it is our look, our standard look within the district. And why can't we get that consistent throughout? And now Kim's didn't want to talk about it either, and so forth. So if you've got suggestions, I appreciate.
Yeah, and I work with Melissa on these things, Melissa Martinez, and so she was looking into that. The pet stations, the waste stations, because we reached out to who we thought in the city would be the correct contact, and they said that the partnership. And we know that the partnership doesn't maintain them. So we're trying to uncover these.
Sean's here.
Yeah, but we're trying to.
Right?
What's that?
You do maintain the pet stations, right?
So,
I mean, and all that.
We have voluntarily over the past few years started filling the CRA purchased stations. It wasn't a part of an initial agreement, but because they were not getting filled for the past, I think, 2 or 3 years, we've been purchasing and filling them.
Okay. So, because I thought Rachel said that you guys weren't doing the pet
I think the
station.
concern was like, some of them are like rusted and falling over.
Yes.
Some of them, the paint's falling off, some of this.
Well,
Like Rachel was saying, like, they're not responsible, I think.
Yeah.
Full replacement,
Yeah.
correct.
Right, so that's what we're
Yeah.
trying to find out, who's the owner of
That's when we
that.
were talking about like the trash cans, some of them looking rough, some of them.
Right, so we had, not only did the partnership go out and do an assessment of the pet stations and reported that to me, I provided that to Melissa's team. An individual from her team went out and did an assessment of all the street furniture, pet stations. So we're trying to reach resolution. They're gonna be meeting with Kimmons next week to try to get this all sorted out. Because CRA purchased the trash bins at one point. Kimmons is installing items like benches, and so we need to blend what's going in new, what was purchased years ago, who owns what. So we're going down that path to figure it all out. So
Oh, that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm glad wasn't aware of that. And that there is some proactivity going on here. But again, the first point was, we just got to make sure that this stays as a common topic each month. We understand landscape and irrigation, because it's important that we have the proper image. I mean, you mentioned in the last meeting, 1 minute, is you want the Disney look to be out there. So we got to.
There's no reason why it shouldn't. We have money. That's usually the problem. You don't have money, we have money.
Yeah, but it is capacity of the parks team, and we can't,
That's what we want to take away.
but we can't go outside of the city's procurement process and use CRA dollars. So like the West Shore Alliance and the Davis Island agreements, those are agreements with associations or outside organizations, and they fund and manage those agreements with the city. So as the CRA dollars, unless the CRA and part of the city goes through the city's official procurement process, we couldn't provide those CRA dollars to like an association who wants to take it on.
So the net I heard is the 2 landscapers that were mentioned that was recommended, which was great to have that. Even if we listen to their pitch and we like what they have, we could not contract to them. Is that correct?
Unless they were part of the city's contract, approved contract list, or they responded to an RFP that was put out.
So you tell me, how do we make it work? That's what I want to hear from you.
Yeah, well, with the, using CRA dollars.
Yes, tell me.
We'd have to go through the procurement process with the city and parks.
Is that a certain number of bidders that have to?
Yeah,
present?
usually they usually would hope to get 3 responses at least. And if they don't, then they put it back out on the street. And then if they don't get 3, then if they get 2, they pick between the 2. But ideally, they want 3 responses.
And how do we pursue getting that done? Tell us the next step, because just mentioning this every month, I want execution. This is a sprint. It's not a marathon, and this is turned into a marathon. So tell us the next step that we get this. Tell me a step versus us just talking about it. What's the next step to get this done?
Yeah, well, I'd have to work with Parks, because Parks would be the owner of the contract. So we would have to work through contract administration and procurement to put out an RFQ or RFP to have respondents put in their submission of what they would do. And then there'd be a committee that would review those and then select one. And then a contract would be established between us and that landscaper.
Okay, so tell me your steps. What are you going to do next to get this done?
Well, I'll have to work with Parks. I have to work with Parks to see.
Go ahead.
I'm a public comment person.
Yeah.
Okay,
I appreciate you
this has
being
been going on for 3 years now. This is something that's, if you listen to what goes on in the meeting here, it seems a little bit just so like a circle and never going anywhere. And it's terrible in the streets. There's issues and it's not hard to solve. It seems like, and a lot of people have given up in the neighborhood, even trying to come down and talk about this. So it's probably, we want to get some credibility. We ought to make sure this happens.
I think I know the answer to this question, but what's the likelihood of us get 3 bids and submitting them to you to submit to Parks?
Well, they have to go out publicly. So the RFP would have to go out publicly. We can encourage people to respond to whatever goes out on the street. Yeah.
The one thing that gets lost, and Ken mentioned it, we heard from Chico here, we always talk about the amount of traffic and influx of people that are in there. And it's not just the residents that's in downtown. I mean, we have just a lot more, double, triple what the number of people that were there before. And this should be what people actually see and enjoy. I mean, I know the port with the cruise ships, I mean, you're up close to, going to be 50% or something coming up in the Miramont. And we just aren't getting the attention that I think the city's supposed to be giving to what our community is.
Can you find out exactly where he is on percentage wise? How much more does he have to find out who doing what in the community? Like,
From legal?
Yes, or whoever. I mean, apparently you probably know some, right, of who's doing what. I mean, because if we're gonna put out an RFP, we need to know the number, right? We need to know the scope of work. Right now, we don't know the scope of work because we don't know who's getting the work done and who's got their own. So the ball needs to be moving faster on that. And I know with legal, it takes time, but, and then maybe on the side, be working on how we can shorten that process of getting a bid out.
So an RFP for a consultant to help figure out the tenants agreements first.
So what, how about if we just assume that we just take the responsibility and get it done?
Because if you do it on somebody's private property, if we go out and start doing it and somebody doesn't agree to it, like what we do. So that's why they need to designate who, but then you're gonna have teams to go through and find out. But we could start on the ones that,
But when you say private property, you're talking about
I mean, some of these depend on their COs and how they got it, and they may be taking care of it themselves, and they may not want the city to come in and do it.
I mean, I know that they're
They may not know that they're responsible, we don't know yet.
Ken, what's your take on that? I mean,
Well, if the city doesn't have an index of who has these agreements to take care of the stuff, that's not good.
And the answer is they do not.
No, that's what they're working on.
That's, somebody should get their price for that. So that's a basic government function. That we have these agreements that in Grand Central's was put in place almost 20 years ago. It goes forever. And, again, it's frustrating. I mean, we're being responsible and doing what we're supposed to do. In fact, I just signed like a $12,000 contract with our landscaper, which is Crosspoint, 2 weeks ago to spruce everything up around Grand Central. It's kind of one of those things where, if you have to go through the process to spend those CRA dollars, I understand that. But maybe, from just a process standpoint, the city should be looking at how do you speed up that process to get, things that, it doesn't take a year to get somebody to put in new trees.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it would help if we submitted a request to the city, CRA does, to get something started, to get the ball rolling.
It seems like it's not just us, they
Oh, no.
don't have a maintenance agreement that in for any neighborhood in
Yeah,
all of Tampa, is what it sounded like from the last meeting. So that's why I'm wondering,
we definitely.
is there a consultant or someone out there that's been help the bandwidth a little bit, maybe specifically with Channel District in mind, to help kind of collect and do that research and figure out whether it's knocking on people's doors, being like, you got your maintenance agreement?
Well, it would be, okay, let's say you want to hire Stantec, you're a local civil engineer, they could do that. They got landscaping, all that stuff in their wheelhouse. Well, you can't just hire Stantec. You have to have an RFP to get 3 civil engineers to bid on that, and then they have to have the public comment, and I get
So
why that's
the first step.
important, but
To get a consultant to figure that out so that we can figure out our bandwidth and what our scope is. So that then we can put out another RFP, say this is our scope. We need our landscaping done.
How about we just assume other than what we know? And assume that it's our responsibility. Just this can go on forever. And as time goes on, the 9 years of the CRA is shortening and shortening and shortening. When the CRA ends. And it's just not fair to the residents and business owners. So we know that Ken, okay, exclude his, but if anybody else wants to, we're on their property and they say, listen, we have it on, then we just don't do it. I mean, but at this point, we're never going to get anywhere if we're asking for all this data.
Oh, I know.
So let's just, I say that we go straight into the RFP and work it that way. And I mean, what would be the quickest way to make this happen? And assuming that we're responsible for all the properties other than the ones that we know of. Okay.
Well, I have to just do the order that would be me contacting parks to draft up an RFP. I mean, I can't speak for other people's timelines because those, the other department timelines, but I'd have to just talk to parks who would then work with contract administration, put it on RFP. So I just can't, until I talk to them about timelines and their capacity of when they can do this work, I can't really give an answer. So,
Can we have, maybe by next meeting, can we circle back from those guys and find out how long and tell them the money's there?
Why don't we just say, go ahead and do it? I mean, why circle back? I mean, that's the problem. Another month goes by and another month goes by.
Because he's basically.
Why don't we just get a project manager, either somebody that's in this room or just somebody that goes in with, according to the city, and walks through this and eats all the stuff that you have to eat and get through.
Or maybe you could ask the city council, the CRA board to say, hey, here's what we want to do. You need to waive your own requirements. And we want to hire Stantec or firm ABC to come up with scope, get it within the next 30 days, get it bid out. Within the next 60 days, we'll get 3 bidders and then go, get it done within the next 30 days from there. See if they, I don't know if they have the ability to do that. But, I mean, they're the ones that have to vote.
So instead of just reporting back to us, let's just, I mean, it's a pleasure of the board, but that we get a CRA, I mean, we get a RFP going. And if we don't see results, let's just show up at the CRA. I mean, that's ultimately what's going to get action, as Ken just said.
I had some correspondence with Courtney on this too. I asked if we should consider having Gwen, which is our district consulate, come to one of our meetings to obviously hear us, at least provide the invitation. I think we need to do all this other stuff, but obviously our voice is not being heard. How do we elevate it? It's another thing. So.
To clarify, I think I'm hearing 2 different things. There is the element of updated landscaping within the right-of-way district-wide, but there's a layer of a future master maintenance agreement. But the issue with the master maintenance agreement is there's not an entity to hold that because it's the CRA itself. Would that be correct?
oh God, I know. I take minutes and find us.
Right.
I think it's, we want to look really pretty. We have money to do it. How do we just do it? But then we also need to maintain it.
They have to happen in tandem.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think everyone understands there's a process for new landscaping to occur. But as soon as that goes in, then what?
Mm-hmm.
Because we've already kind of seen that in piecemeal, that there are areas done, but then what?
Yeah.
And there's not a mechanism in place within a CRA to then have that right-of-way maintenance agreement. And Ken, every time I think of right-of-way maintenance agreements, the only one I think of in the city is Grand Central. Because I worked on it in, I know, 2004, yeah.
Well, we have one for inscription. I know.
I'm sure you did.
Because I worked on that.
Well, okay. You'd be an excellent person to go there and speak on to the CRA. If we don't get staff.
I'll do it.
Okay. Because you're passionate about it and very frustrated, and rightfully so.
And we'll be able to play through some of the red tape.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's meeting.
Okay.
But just so we have streets and right of ways, streets on the side, but where are the residents mostly concerned? Street Park, just relatively new, right? It's before Channel Side Drive is done. And that's a mess. And there's a lot of people that use that park. And we know the property borders, description. We know that there's not an agreement with Channel Club. And that's a big contributor to the mess on that side. You have that old building that's being sold in the back. That's not too bad. It's kind of quaint to have the old structure. So really the focus could be on that's a big impacted area with all the amenities for residents. Like what's their status? Because, like, they have state release of water that I came across, and they just went in and asked, like, so much water that you're shooting through. They were very defensive, all the way up to the manager. I just said, he sent a name, and I thought, call headquarters, whatever, and they were basically attacking me for asking that question and asking me to leave the property. I'm like, what's the issue? But I'm just saying, that's a big impacted area for residents in our area, so that should be a. So we don't have a lot of parks, but that is the central area. That's right next to Grand Central. I love the Grand Central, that they're doing and everything, so thank you. But I walk the district all the time, and I pay attention to those areas. And unfortunately, that started off so nice, and now it's like, that's real nice. Thank you.
Okay,
Do we need to make any motions or are we fine?
Am I gonna meet with Courtney and start up, going down to see the people, or how we gonna
let's
do this?
just move that represent. CRA to how to get this frustration that we've had.
Yeah, so the meeting is tomorrow, correct? Are you able to make the meeting tomorrow?
Sure.
Then what, it starts at
9 a.m.
9 a.m. yeah.
That's great. You're gonna have to do 3-minute public comment.
During public comment.
So you gotta get there and fill out the form.
What do we actually want? A public comment for just a couple bullet points over the rest?
I mean, that's gonna be tough because you're gonna be wanting to explain our issue, and that's gonna take 3 minutes to do. But basically what we're looking for, which I think is a good suggestion, that we really are looking for an engineer as a consultant to provide us recommendations on what we could do with landscaping in the Channel District.
Is public
Not-
comment the
Nothing to
best way
usher
to
it
do
through
it?
the city to get it accomplished. That's it.
Yeah, public comment is the only form that you have.
Yeah.
Just that
No, but is
how
that,
could they fast track it?
Yeah.
Yes.
To hire an engineer without formal,
Fast track the procurement.
without all the formal,
Fast track.
communicating all the formal processes in place, just leave it like that. So we can actually get this work done.
Should probably use a couple minutes or a minute to say that it's been going on for 3+ years.
Time yourself in practice.
Pardon?
Time yourself in practice.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of
you
time.
can introduce yourself for a minute. No.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, you know, Courtney can only do so much. And when she calls parks, there's only so much you can do. It's your, I think by going directly to CRA, they see you every month. Squeaky will, you know, and that's the way we're gonna get results because like I said, there's only so much she can do. And if they
She
just,
can't go outside the lines.
Right, she
And that's
can't,
not her
yeah.
fault. It's not her fault.
Yeah. So that trying to get it off her and get execute on this.
So I'll be a citizen at that point.
Yep, you are.
But say that you're our meeting, that you're very involved, you know, you come to all our meetings.
So what happened?
Over the years. Yeah. So there's no need for a motion or anything. He's acting on his own behalf.
Well, he's representing us.
What do you think?
I think.
Yeah.
I don't,
Good.
yeah, he's not a CAC member, or he's a
We're
couple.
appointing him to do this and I think it should be part of the minutes. This way, you know, you have it part of the minutes because it's nothing like having things in the minutes.
But they might wonder why a CAC member didn't come and speak versus a.
We appoint this, you can appoint anybody that says we feel like is qualified. He's very qualified, doesn't need to be a CAC member. How do y'all feel about that?
Yeah,
I kind of lean towards having to be a concerned citizen public
That
comment.
attends these meetings on a regular basis.
And I'm-
Lives in the area.
Okay, then say no, then that's the pleasure of.
Could
That's
we
the pleasure.
request someone from Quinn's office to be here next month? And address this with them after the fact, and we can attack it from that area as well. Because Squeaky Wheels.
You worked as an aide for how many years?
Routine.
Yeah, so you know what.
So when a request comes from us, at least countywide, you get a bigger response. I don't know about city council, but I would assume that they can get a few more answers and get the ball rolling and cut through some of the red tape.
Let me know if we're successful at getting that, because I'll start doing some kind of PowerPoint with pictures, so it'll be
Okay.
easier to show a person without walking the street, what we're encountering in our area.
All right, so good that we're gonna have a presence and action.
Thank you for going.
Yeah, and thank you very much. You're very passionate about it, and thank you for always being here. Okay, second item is Tampa Downtown Partnership Service.
All right, so I'm following up from Rachel's presentation last month. Rachel has since left the Tampa Downtown Partnership. She's moved on to a new opportunity, so catching kind of where she left off. And I think the request at the end of last month was about return on investment, specifically Special Service District looking at the footprint of Channel District. So with that said, Special Service District is 1,100 acres. Channel District footprint roughly 200 acres, right? So 1/5 of the SSD is the Channel District. Current budget this year for the SSD is 5.3 million. And the contribution from Channel District is 1.2. So again, pretty comparable to the overall acreage. Both of those,
Sorry, total was how much?
5.3, thank you. And 1.2 total from Channel District properties. So in both scenarios, looking at the acreage, looking at the total investment, it's about 1/5. Rachel had also mentioned that the way we have historically operated for 37 years is in line with bids across the world, as far as you take the allocation and you really offer services equally throughout the district, providing your level of services throughout the entire district at an equal level. We have always operated that way, but in the past 2 years, as you know, we have created the 7 neighborhoods and the branding around the 7 neighborhoods. When we did that, it was a marketing piece on the front end, but it has really driven everything else we do within the organization as well. So by the nature of establishing this, we now look at our programming, we look at our operations, every aspect of what the organization does, we look at it in the sense of each neighborhood. Still ensuring we provide a consistent level across the board, but a much stronger focus on the neighborhoods. Now we have 7 neighborhoods. We have 4 of those neighborhoods that are pretty much consistent as far as the total investment, run that $1 million mark. And that's going to be Channel District, Water Street, Urban Core, River Arts. So think of those 4 as far as total value into the SSD being in a similar range. The 5th is really a collective of 3 neighborhoods, and that is Central Park, Tampa Heights, and West River. Those 3 have a lower assessment for different reasons. If we look at West River, probably 70% of it is exempt because of University of Tampa, right? Moving to Tampa Heights, low density, low assessment. Grand Central is starting to creep up, but again, the density is not there that you have in the other 4. So when we just look at the neighborhoods and the assessment per neighborhood, I think it's always good to kind of look at how those neighborhoods play out as far as density goes. So circling back to a Channel District, again, with that 1.2, we know and understand what those needs are within the neighborhood, providing a consistent level of services. A few areas that I think are important to look at is when you look at what the services are, then we look at what the demand is in the neighborhoods. So as we introduced DASH, downtown area shared hubs, in the past 1.5 years, 26% of all rides coming in and out of Channel District. So I thought it was an interesting number. Again, right? We're looking at the 1/5 to a quarter, same kind of density, same kind of number as far as use within Channel District. When we talk about our programming, we talk about our operations, and operations being maintenance, our clean team, our ambassadors. Rachel mentioned last month that we dedicate ambassadors, we dedicate clean team members specific to each neighborhood. So they have that familiarity with the ground level retail, with the businesses, with the residents. So again, there's that focus per neighborhood. So collectively, when we look at marketing, transportation planning, public space, clean and safe, dash. Those are the 5 areas. We always have that level to ensure they touch all 7 neighborhoods, but based upon the density and demand from the stakeholders, then it will elevate a little bit. Dash is a good example. Clean and safe is a good example, where we might have a dedicated amount of ambassadors, but there's also that additional support that will come in and help with other operational needs on an as-need basis.
What percent is dash? I mean, you pointed out the 26%, but what percent is dash of the total 5.3?
Dash operational cost this year, I think is right at 700,000. And clean and safe is runs about 60% of our total budget. Yeah.
It's interesting, because I thought basically partnership was more of a marketing event type organization. 60% of what you're saying, your revenue coming in goes towards maintaining the appearance on the streets.
Right. That's about a total of 35 to 40 employees. We operate that service in-house, and all those employees are full-time and then work within the 7 neighborhoods.
I believe we have 2 in the district that's targeted.
There's 2 dedicated operating 7 days a week. So there's, probably 4 people total with 7-day service.
I was trying to do some Googling, I'm sure you don't know. And Ken, maybe you know this, is the number of residents, resident homes, I guess, or units that we might have in the Channel District. Do you have a rough idea?
Yeah. I would say close to 3,000, maybe 3,500.
Thank you. So
Units?
Units, yes. Not commercial, not commercial, just.
yeah, units and not residents, just units that we're talking about. So, okay. Then also, the question then leads on to the average value of one of those units. Would you say 600,000?
No, it'd be less than that. I would say if you look at the recent multifamily sales, like for example, Channel Club traded 2.5 years ago for 420,000 a unit. At Grand Central, the average unit price is probably 450. So I would say, but the time is higher, the towers is higher.
500?
That's ballpark.
I mean, ballpark. This is the only thing, because I end up, I've had residence owners come to me. Obviously, we end up paying on our tax bill as residents. We pay to partnership, and I can tell you, just in my case, I was using 600,000, and basically $400 a year ends up going out of that unit strictly to partnership. Okay, and I haven't done. You've given me good numbers.
Mine's about the same. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Okay, so but so you work with that. I haven't done the math on that to figure out now that I get to 3,000. If you work with it to see how close that matches up to what you were saying on our contribution of 1.2, but it's probably pretty close to it exactly. So it does match. I was trying to do it in case you didn't come to the party with some number, that at least we would know. So the only comment is that we hear, at least I get to hear, is what do we get for, say, our $400 annually a year from partnership? I was not aware of the clean space taking up that much and contributing back to our district. There's an interest to see more activities, and I still struggle with how we can improve that. And I think it did get brought up at the last meeting about potentially block parties. Mm-hmm. But I hear the city probably frowns on, other than the one where you have the every Thursday up on Madison, is it Madison Street?
Correct.
Yeah, try to do something else like that. But I think there's an interest to figure out how we can get more events of quality into the Channel District. I guess I would ask the partnership to continue to think about that. And I know you did the date night in the park, the things with the dogs, but I don't think those are the events that people would love to. We want to see something bigger than that.
So no, I appreciate it. And that was my next item. When we established the neighborhood programming, we're 2 years into that. We're going to reevaluate what those programs are because those came from the surveys 2 years ago. So every year in advance of our work plans, we have a What's Poppin' events. It's a community engagement event. We've held it in parks. This year, we're going to hold it in a local retail unit in each neighborhood. So we'll partner with the business. But it's a survey opportunity to say, what do you want in the work plan year ahead? So each of the neighborhood programs will change after the work plan this year. So late May, we will start pushing that out for the survey and then what each neighborhood is looking for the year ahead.
Just real quick, the food truck event, Grand Central pays for that.
Oh, you do?
The CRA did contribute for a period of years, and then we were told that the legislature doesn't like CRAs promoting events, so you either fund it or figure it out. So the residents, we voted to fund it. So that's kind of, that's a
The ambassadors still come by like the cruise ports, like during cruise days to help with directions. I think
Right.
they still do. So, there's the blanket for all neighborhoods, but then the still kind of special attention the channel district gets kind of depends on cruise days, on big days. The ambassadors will spend some extra time in our neighborhood because I've seen them giving directions to tourists and people, and that provides an extra elevated experience for people in our neighborhood. I believe you also do like helping with flat tires and helping.
We do.
So again, it's like services that you hope you never need. You can contribute to it. You may never need it. But it's kind of nice to know that when you do need it, you have the service there.
Right. And then ambassador service, as you mentioned, with the cruise ships really overlays into all cultural events, the arena. There's that tie there across the board.
I know we're not Water Street, and again, Water Street pretty much is self-funding, to my understanding. But now they've got their big announcements. That they're going to have more concerts on Water Street. They're going to have national entertainment concerts on Water Street. It just sort of gets, when you sit in the channel district and you look at that, why can't we have something
Well, a lot
like
of that
that?
gets funded from the businesses as part of that money comes out.
I get it.
And
But,
those high rents. That's what that's.
Question, you said, how many people, in the clean and safe, what's your total staff?
Our total staff runs between 35 and 40,
35.
and that includes the drivers of Dash.
Staff. And then how many, what's allocated to channel side?
So at 1.2 is the.
No. I'm talking about of the clean and safe, how many people are allocated to channel side?
We have a litter patrol and an ambassador per neighborhood, 7 days a week. And hours start at 6 a.m., running until 8 p.m.
So if I do 22%, 22.6% is what we represent in the budget. If I do 22.6% times, let's say 35 people, and take the most conservative number, that would mean that actually we should have 7 people. So
For staffing, not overhead and
no,
materials.
I'm talking about clean and safe, I'm going strictly because that represents 60% of the budget. So I want to hit the big items versus Dash representing only 700. Because you said it represents $3 million of the 5. So if I go to a big item, in reality, we're subsidizing other neighborhoods.
To an extent, that is correct.
Okay, I mean, I'm glad you're honest about it and transparent, because I've always been concerned about that, and this
And
proves it.
that's exactly why I laid out the 3 smaller neighborhoods, West River with, UT covering 60% of the footprint. There's a large amount of student base there, that there's activity, there's density, there's things that happen that take services. Tampa Heights, you have the activity, but you don't have the density there yet. And Central Park, you have the density growing. And when Central Park was added, that density wasn't what it is today, but it's growing and changing. So no difference in Channel District 15 years ago, that density wasn't there. And we rapidly seen that density change. And then you start to see it in those other adjacent neighborhoods.
You're talking about ROI, you can understand that we're not getting ROI. When we represent 22.6% of the budget But on the biggest line item, which represents 60%, which is $3 million, we're getting, now we're getting, less than 9%. So there's definitely not equity here. So what can y'all do to improve that?
I mean, we'd have to go back and, because it's a shift and it's a tug and pull, right? It's a tug and pull. You know, we have 35 staff members covering 1,100 acres. And on a national level, our district is very large. A lot of districts are smaller or multiple districts. So when you look at those dollars and you want to cover every block, there's 1,500 face blocks within the district. So face block being, you know, one side of the block, right? We cover 1,500 face blocks. And when I say this, we're talking purely operations of our clean and safe. But we have a 1,500 face block area to maintain. So it's a give and take that if more move into another area, does the service really increase that much more? Or are we taking care of business in these areas that we need?
We care about channel side. That's what we care about. That's what we represent. That's what we pay into. So what I'm saying is I see a big, I don't see that here. When 60% of one item, we should be getting 7 people and we're getting 2. We're subsidized in other areas.
The 60% comes from, say that again?
You said that 60% of the budget is clean and safe.
Correct.
Which if you times 60% times $5 million comes out to be roughly $3 million.
Right.
Okay. So if I get 35 people of staff, okay, 35 people of staff times 22.6% of what I'm paying into, I should be getting 7 to 8 people.
I think it comes out to that with the dash drivers. I don't think like, so
Yeah.
because you mentioned the neighborhoods get the clean and safe. The dash drivers are also included in that 35 to 40 number, and they rotate through all the neighborhoods constantly. You mentioned that Channel District has 26% of the ridership.
Right.
So even though they're not like hovering in Channel District all day, just like waiting, like a taxi cab, they're roaming.
So it's more like 28 people.
And then, okay, so I'm wrapping my head around this now, because then also within that group, we have a maintenance crew. That's 4 to 5 people that do heavier duty work as far as cutting grass, coming with the weed eater, that graffiti removal. And that is one team that circulates through the entire district.
And how many is that?
There's 4 to 5 in there.
So you got 11 people off of that 35, so you're down to 20.
And I think that was the disconnect with the.
And then you have a couple of drivers that do trash collection. So they're covering the entire district, pulling trash. You have a manager in there, an assistant manager.
So it may be inequitable, but I think he's saying that once you start whittling down the numbers, it's not 7 people that we should have more, maybe 1 or 2.
Right. Even if I knock off 11 people, it gives me 24 times 22%.
Yeah.
I should have 5
And
people.
then plus he said the 11 plus the maintenance, which is
And it's 2 positions, but that's really like 3.5 people because it's 7 days a week.
so now you're down to 21-ish.
You understand our concern. We just want y'all to be accountable. What we're putting in, we get out. That's the problem. You know, and you can't blame us for asking. We don't want to subsidize. We don't want 1 penny more, just not 1 penny less.
Yep.
So, okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for being so transparent.
Absolutely.
We will proceed into security camera update.
Okay. I always feel like I come with the bad news. No, it's still happening, it's still happening. Sun Civil, who was the company that was doing the security camera, or installing the security cameras, landed a multi-million-dollar deal. So they backed out because now they don't have the manpower now that they took the multi-million-dollar project. So we do have Carter Electric, who was supposed to come out last week. So it's still moving forward, and they're hoping to still complete the work late April to mid-May. So it's still around the corner, but unfortunately, who we already had on board that was new, the direction backed out. So, but Carter Electric is on board, and so we're hoping for an April to May installation. So not horrible news, but.
So do we know how many cameras and do
Well,
we know
I-
which
I
location?
wrote the detective, because the captain is out, so I couldn't get an update. So I wrote to the detective and I was checking, he hasn't been usually very responsive, but I haven't heard back from him
Didn't he
yet.
say it's like 8? Because we thought it was
Yeah.
30 or something, it was only like 8.
Yeah, it's just a smaller amount,
I mean, I could put up some wings or something.
Yeah.
No.
but,
30 years.
well, but they go into the downtown monitoring system. So they're sophisticated, they're not cheap cameras, they're sophisticated cameras that go into the central center down here on Franklin Street. So anyway, it's moving forward. We just had to switch contractors because one failed on this. So now we're.
But at least for next week, we find out where they're gonna be.
Well, that's what I asked. I asked the location, quantity, and I just didn't hear back from the detective. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other two are just monthly spreadsheets that are in your packet for review.
Any questions? Capital projects or? That's okay. Our next meeting be the first Wednesday. Here, preferably.
Yeah.
And we'll go into new business. The expert on this is Ken. He's been there for many years and done some beautiful projects. And I'll let you speak on Gloria ratio. I've done a lot of research myself and let me chime in.
Okay, well, two things I'd like to.
And the way this got to on the agenda, just to let you know, is when I did the presentation, the yearly presentation. Let me get my notes here. Councilman Carlson asked. Get my notes here. He's concerned about height restrictions that suggest lifting the FAR to align with downtown, arguing that we have extensive excessive regulations, which I totally agreed with them. And I told him I would put it on the agenda. And there's other council members that also reflect that same. I'll let Ken get in, talk about it, but then maybe I'll just.
Okay, well, I read the transcript of that meeting and I was pleasantly surprised. I've since I'm just a private citizen now, I was in Andy's position some years ago. And, there, at the time, there were certain members of the administration that, when we got started on this 20 some years ago, there was a totally different vision for the Channel District. It was a 7-story kind of mid-rise neighborhood. And then, the towers came along and the current mayor at the time wanted to see that project happen. And there was a small percentage of it that was actually in the CBD, and that kind of Katie barred the door at that point. So basically the height restrictions went away. The density was doubled probably 15 years ago with the idea that the city would enter into these bonus density agreements and get a bunch of public realm stuff done by developers. Because back then, it's a different world. CRA didn't have any money. And the city was successful in executing exactly 0 bonus density agreements that paid them any money for a long period of time. So I had a client that wanted to buy some property. It was the Andy Automotive piece of the Dickey building. This was about 4 years ago. And they needed a higher FAR. We met with the city and didn't go very far. And since then, I've met with any number of city council people and said, hey, in my mind, we're really holding the channel district back. The periphery districts are there for a reason, and it's a good reason, because all of those districts bleed off into single-family residential neighborhoods. The channel district doesn't. It bleeds off into a bunch of oil tanks in the port and Dale Charles gas works. It's 20 years ago, it was really separate and distinct from downtown, and that you had, Meridian was a 2-lane half-dirt road, and you had the railroad bridge that went over the viaduct and all that stuff. That all went away. The flour mill went away. Water Street came. So there's really no reason to have one set of density limits on one side of Meridian and another on the other. If it were in, say, Tampa Heights or say over the Platte Bay Shore area, totally horse of a different color there. But I see no reason not to. Two things. I always like to say, I've listened to the 10, it's been a while since I've been here, listened to 10 of the meeting. There are some things the city does well. Believe it or not, there are. I'm working on a potential project in the central business district. I met with my civil engineer, who's Stantec, who just hired somebody from the city in the planning department who did this process with a hat for the city. To get a project approved in the central business district takes about 60 days. There's no rezoning, there's no public meetings, there's none of this. The process in the channel district takes the better part of a year. In the central business, it takes 2 months, and it's all done at the administrative level. And I guess the caveat to that was, well, in the channel district, you're rezoning to whatever it is now to CD2. That's the future plan land use, all of it. So there's certain things you can do in CD2, there's certain things not. So the question is, do you want to, have potential people like me have to go through the same process again and again and again to get the rights that you already have via the future land use which was approved 20 years ago? I think that's ridiculous. It costs time, it costs money, it discourages investment. Now, the folks that were looking to buy the A and B and the Dickey building, you know what they did? I found a piece of property right across the street on Jackson Street on the other side of Meridian. It's called Aura. It's going to be 688 condo hotel units. That's a $250 million investment. Channel District missed out on. That's the opposite of smart. Yes, me. So I've talked to 4 city council people. They all have the same take on it. Is why is the Channel District any different? And I said, look, I'm out. Let's look at what the city does well. Their entitlement process in the CBD makes a whole lot of sense. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just take the process for density, height, and approval that are currently in the CBD and adopt them in the Channel District. What the mechanism for that is, I don't know. I'm not an attorney. But it would seem to me if you've got a process that works really well in the CBD, why not use it here? I'm not saying use it in all the other peripheral districts. They're fundamentally different from what we are and where we're going. But the other key thing is with the parcel of land that we have left, there's not a lot of 2, 3, 4 acre parcels that are there. And having that hard cap is discouraging investment, and it's discouraging entrepreneurship, and it's chasing dollars from our district. And things change. That ought not to be the business that we're in. So again, I don't think we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to take what we're doing right here and move a couple blocks east. That's all.
How was it? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, please.
How was it received?
All 4 of the members that I met with agreed with me. They were like, I don't know why.
I think it makes a bit of sense. I come from the private development world, having worked for privately traded REIT, privately held conglomerate in Jacksonville.
Well, when you're dealing with the other peripheral districts where you're bleeding into Hyde Park, you're bleeding into Tampa Heights, that's fundamentally different than bleeding into the port or gas works.
Yeah.
It just makes it, and what's on the other side of the port? Well, it's, the port is a separation that's not going away.
No, it's not. No, I
And if you look at our district with that, and we're getting almost 10 cruise ships a week in there now. I mean, it's a vibrant district to hold back what it wants to be.
I don't know if you don't know the economic impact just from the cruises alone, for the port. We just had our new study done from 8 years ago. And the total economic impact is $34.5 billion from 17 billion 8 years ago, with indirect and direct jobs up to 192,000 from 85,000.
And I would also add, we get people that are going for a cruise, especially the shorter ones, they park in our garage too. There's no place to park.
The economic impact for each cruise call is about $335,000. Last year, we had 272 cruise calls. Next year, we'll have 372. But if you round that 335 to 300 and the cruise is the 300, that's almost $1 billion of economic impact annually.
And it's wonderful.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's great. Like, other quick example I'd give you is, I mean, the condo hotel that is not going to go on Twig Street, that's going to go along Jackson Street. I mean, they're going to do like a 12,000 square foot SDK steakhouse. That's not in this market. I mean, think about, condo hotels are wonderful for 3 reasons. The units themselves are very expensive, so they add a ton of money to the tax rolls. They're not homesteaded, and they send 0 kids to school. Why are we discouraging that? I mean,
And I applaud you for your.
that hasn't happened here yet, but I've got another piece of property that I could happily say went under contract 2 days ago with a condo hotel developer out of Miami. It's the parking lot right next to the lot that you sold to the city down off of Whiting Street. And they want to do 500 units. It's a $250 million investment. Why wouldn't you want a big honking condo hotel right next to all your cruise ships?
Absolutely.
That families can, if you got to rent 2 hotel rooms for your family, it's exactly where it should be. That's what these guys are struggling. It's why they want to be there. We shouldn't be discouraging it. We should be encouraging. Yes, for any number of reasons. That's not the throw stones at anybody.
No,
20-some years ago, it was a whole different animal. And I remember sitting, I was with when you guys did the whole vision plan like 15 years ago, and you hired these consultants that go all over the world to do self-reports. And the general consensus was the cruise ship business by now was supposed to be dead as a doornail.
Yep.
And that didn't happen. And these guys were sharp.
Yeah.
So.
And FAA, we don't really, Channel said really didn't have the issues that.
The only issues you have are, that would be the south side of the crosstown, south of Cumberland.
Yeah, so really, we're not affected. I mean,
No.
yeah, and
Isn't there a 180-foot restriction now? Is that what it is?
No, you can go above that.
Okay.
Our elevated property was approved to 36 stories.
Oh, good.
So,
when you look at Channel side and you look at downtown, we really have been shortchanged at this FAR. And then they got designated an opportunity zone. Okay. We didn't get, I mean, we should have been we didn't get.
we're the only CRA that wasn't one.
Yeah. Ybor got opportunity zone, downtown gets opportunity zone, and in the middle, us, no opportunity zone. I mean, that's like a 1031 Stark Exchange on steroids, what that does.
And then they said they couldn't move one, but then when they were going to put the baseball stadium in Ybor City, they did move one.
Yeah.
So just to give you some history, Channel side, really, we've done so well, but we really been playing with one arm behind our back, and it makes a lot of, you look at the abutting, you don't fringe in no neighborhoods. Like,
No, I mean, the Channel District is going to be, for the most part, that, 8 to 12 story neighborhood, because those buildings that are there now aren't going anywhere for the next 50 years. Pier House isn't going anywhere. Bell Channel side isn't going anywhere. Victory Lofts isn't going. Fitzgerald and the Slade aren't going anywhere. Inscription isn't going anywhere. Now, some of the newer buildings that are on the books now are going to be in that 20 to 25 story zone, and they should be. But that's not going to change the character of the neighborhood, because with the exception of the Port Authority property, I mean, 70% of it at least is already built out. It's what it's gonna be.
Okay, so any other,
Yeah, infrastructure is, I guess, a concern. Yeah, it's been brought up many a time concerning having fire station within it to be able to support us. We know where we fall within our supposed commitment by the city for parks, where we run at 15% of where we are. And everything I'm hearing, your ability bring in more and more people, higher amount of capacity in there, but no answer to resolving those issues that have existed for a long time. I get it. I don't want to hinder us from really having growth.
Well, the parks issue, hey, that's near and dear to my heart. I've been working on trying to get the city to buy open space for 20 years. And they just won't do it.
They miss the ball.
So if we have more people there or less people there, that's not going to affect the open space one whit, because unless the city does a 180, I mean, I sat in front of city council 4 years ago to buy, before I had these condo guys, I wanted the city to buy that and double the size of the Madison Street Park, and they pissed all over it. So, staff did. So, hey,
and
I hear your concern.
and you look at fire today, I mean, most calls are EMS calls.
Yeah, 94%.
They're EMS calls.
And I will have to say, I mean, living in Grand Central, my wife has had a couple of health issues where we've had to call 911 in the past 4 years. They're there within like 5-6 minutes max. I mean, the response time, and I've been personally involved, has not been a problem. It'd be nice to have another fire station. I know Councilman Carlson wanted to put it, kind of by Water Street. That's not gonna happen. I mean, maybe the place to put that is somewhere in Ybor Harbor or something like that.
Or they're thinking about just enlarging station number one.
Yeah.
Just enlarging that one, versus that.
How about parking? I mean, it's obviously we're already hearing, many people are already out at Ybor coming in to park in and using facilities downtown. It just seems like some of the building structures not only have been tight in, we live in a property that never accommodated guest
Where are
parking.
you?
We're at the place on Channel Site. I mean, we have absolutely zero visitor parking in our facility.
I would encourage you.
And it can't change.
On a Friday or Saturday night, you can walk both garages of Grand Central up until the residence gates. Hundreds of spaces.
I think respectfully, you did a great job over there. I don't know if the other properties have done that and thinking outside the box that we need to end up.
Well, it's also different. I mean, for example, like the condo hotel people, most of those folks are coming here from out of town. They're using Uber and Lyft, or they're using the transportation provided by the cruise companies. They're not renting a car at the airport, parking it in the Channel District for 7 days and using it once to get there and once to get back. It makes no economic sense for them. But I get it, Lydia. I get the parking thing, but the amount of parking that, I mean, I live in Grand Central. The young people, the people under 30, you look at ask any trainer in Crunch just if they have a car.
That's just.
No, that's how the young people afford these rents. You read in the paper that we have this huge crisis about, there's nothing affordable. Well, that's true, but it's overblown because the young people have simply voted with their wallets, and they realize that if they've got a Publix, a CVS, and a Crunch, a place to do their hair, their nails, and all this kind of stuff that they can all walk to, they'll take an Uber to International Plaza to go shopping. So, we have at any given time 4 or 5 parking spaces that people own, and they're trying to rent them out or sell them because they don't need them. So,
Okay, so I any other questions or comments?
Just a quick question. What's your last name, Tim?
Sultan,
Is there any studies for the roads? Is there any studies for the road scan or anything like that, movement of traffic in and out of the district?
well, I mean,
I know it seems sometimes
well,
it's very.
look, everybody knows that, and when the cruise ships are in the road diet, they don't gel, so I gotta say,
Other times, maybe also.
and sometimes on Meridian, getting into Water Streets, it backs up a lot. But, I don't think the answer is not building anything.
No, I disagree, but I'm talking about, is there any plans for it? Are they studying that or anything like?
Well, I do know that the city and the Expressway Authority, for example, have a pretty sophisticated system for tracking that and changing like the times of lights. Like, for example, we wanted to change the timing at the light at Meridian and Kennedy. They did it in like 25 minutes.
See from their data.
They pulled all the analytics and they were like, you're right. We should decrease one light by 5 seconds, increase another. It's a 20 minutes to fix.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much. You're the best board representative. You show up during meeting.
Well, I missed a couple.
No, but you.
Thank you, by the way, for pushing last week, because Ash Wednesday was last Wednesday. So I had my wife in town. We still live in Jacksonville.
Okay.
I come down Monday morning at 4 a.m. So
I enjoyed working with Lane.
okay, well, good to hear. I look forward to catching up with you.
Sure.
Thanks. Excuse me.
Thank you. Okay. We'll wait for her. Okay.
Maybe you want to put a fire station on your property.
It's, if you look at, it's all in EMS calls today because fire codes, the way they build these buildings, you're not having fire.
We've had 3 fires in like just under 15, 17 years. And it's always people that don't clean their dryers out. So now we clean them up for them.
Problem solved.
Well, we can wait, but since Councilman Carlson, probably. So it's probably not probably this needs to go back to council for us to have a representative go back to council versus the CRA, because really it's not a CRA issue since Carlson asked for it. And there's other council members that want this. So it's the pleasure of the board to have a representative and actually even have Ken as backup, because since he knows this subject so well, or to say that they have our support on this issue, the CAC. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion. How should we word it?
I can help you with that.
Yeah.
Just make a motion that the council consider adopting the height, density, and approval process that's currently used in the central business district and apply that to the channel district.
Yeah, sure.
As soon as possible.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? See none? Okay, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Any no's? Okay, so raise your hand on yeses.
I don't know yet.
Oh, you don't?
So I'm incoming. Courtney, am I a member?
Yes,
I
yes,
am.
yes. Yeah, we missed that.
I'm Hardwick.
Oh my God, we need. Well, I'm gonna let you vote, then you're gonna say something about yourself. Signify by saying aye. Okay, and we have a. Okay, so at this point, before we go into the next agenda, more importantly, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'll keep it short and sweet since we're running long. My name's Kat Hardwick. I recently moved to Tampa. I came down right around the time of Milton. And I hail from Jacksonville as well, where I worked in the downtown business improvement district. So I knew Sean and Julie, and they reached out to me and said, there's nothing to see, would you like to get involved? And since downtown improvements, development, placemaking is near and dear to my heart, I'm excited to be. So I'm local.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, last item on our agenda is A&D Auto. Finally got a contract out of him. He's going through a divorce or had a divorce. Ken, you're probably a perfect person because you had this, you were consulting with the Marriott group that had this under contract.
Correct.
For I think 5.7 million is what I understand.
So about $400 for whatever that.
Yeah, I think I heard, supposedly it was 5.7 million. He has signed the contract for under $400 a foot at 4.5. Finally we've been dealing with this for how long?
Yeah, it's been a while. Just so that everyone knows the address.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The A&D Auto is on Twigs.
So, yeah, it's on legend.
Yeah, and the address, 1125 and 1127 East Twigs. Now, I guess this could add, and Ken, you'd be a good person to speak. We could actually add on to the current park with this parcel.
Yes.
And have a window off of Twigs. Where currently, we really don't have a window other than a little, I think, alley, but not even an alley.
Well, there's a pedestrian crossing.
Right.
We put that in when we did Channel Club because if we didn't, you have to go all the way around.
Right. But this would give us a window and add to an existing park versus having another little pocket park that becomes very expensive. So I talked to real estate and they had suggested going this route. And we'd have to get 2 appraisals. We can pay over the appraisal, okay? I'm gonna put you on the spot. This is under a little under $400 a foot. And you don't have to answer it, but you said you just put your piece in a contract. Did I understand that?
Yeah.
Are you in the 4s, the 5s, the 6s, the 7s, or the 8s?
We're in that range. There's a couple different owners. Our price is a little bit lower than the other 2 because they were absolutely unreasonable. But to make, that's an acre and a half, we put everything together. So is it in the ballpark? Yeah.
What, when you, is it in the 5s, 6s, 4s?
No, it's in the 4s. It's about, it's similar to what?
In the 4s.
It's similar.
Okay, all right. He's also provided from his Florida Department of Environmental Protection, no further action letter that he had. The city would do all their due diligence and hire their own environmental engineers, environmental, I'm sure that phase 1 or phase 2. And based on the feasibility study, he was, it says 120 days from effective date. Parts of Inlet is really a big passion of mine because, if you look at urban land institute, we should have, 12%. We have less than 2%. If there's anything that I've been involved in this, that's been the biggest failure or biggest regret or biggest, this will add to a park. I think in 5-10 years, we're going to say, damn, we got a good deal, just like we bought everything in the past and then said, we're kind of saying, all right, should we do this? Should we not? And everything we bought, we said, God, it's been the greatest deal in the world.
Andy, if I could just add one.
Please.
The only reason the Madison Street Park is there is because when we were building Channel Club, there was an entity called EM Scott, little construction company. And they wanted to get $60 a foot. Well, the city got an appraisal and it came in at like $42. I don't think the appraiser did a good job, but be that as it may. We donated about 35% of that park for $10 to make the numbers work. So they effectively paid $45 a foot. Can you imagine if they had done that 4 or 5 more times back then? I mean, that's the anomaly of the screw up on that one. I mean, and Andy and I have been fighting that fight unsuccessfully in most cases for a long time. But the city had a chance for a long period of time, and they didn't see it. I don't think there was any malice involved, not much, but they just didn't see it. they thought that they could buy property for a lot cheaper than it was. And then once it happened, they really missed, I mean, they missed the Mayflower.
Since 2003, when the CRA base year was 22 years ago, we have bought a total of 2 properties. Okay. One, 20,000 square feet, which is Washington. And then the 4th property just recently. Other than that, that is all we have bought. Channel said, thank God he donated them, what he donated. I'll open up for comments.
Just another question. So I got the visual here. So this would actually now, there'd be property that would be part of the park from Madison Street to Twigs.
Correct.
Okay. You have then a brick building, sort of, this is like in the middle, right? So we are not looking, at one time there was discussion to try to buy that building that.
Yeah, the CAC voted to buy it.
Yes. What's it?
As
building?
council to buy it
No.
instead.
No, it just says Madison Street, not a park.
So I'm not against what we're proposing.
Well, I think what you have to look at things in incremental manner is maybe you do the A&D first,
Right.
and then you go back and try to do the other one.
It's a squeeze.
A couple years from this.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I which,
It was under contract for 16 million both pieces back when you were doing
Yeah.
this deal. And 5.7 was the A&D portion of it, based on all my research I did. In fact, I even have the brochure.
Now, and that was a firm contract, and those guys bought the property off of Jackson Street. They closed. I mean, they were the real deal.
Yeah, so they were Marriott developers, so
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
based on my research and so we have an opportunity here. What's the pleasure of this board?
So I just want to make sure I might have missed this. It's for sale and the question is
No,
buying.
we have it under contract. I mean, excuse me, we have a offer to sell signed,
Okay.
okay? They have until March 31 to execute it.
So we just moved CRA funds to the city and the city purchased
No, we have funds in the CRA. What do we have?
I guess we'll say 8 million.
We have $8 million right now,
Land acquisition.
land acquisition. If we don't use this money in 9 years,
it.
we lose it.
Is that money gonna grow at all in the next 4 years? Or is it? are we just
It will grow.
not $8 million pot?
No, it,
We're bringing in about this year, about $11.4 million. It's only going to go up because inscription is going to hit the tax rolls next year as is 101 Meridian.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be like probably another $2.5 to $3 million a year.
and this is for 4.5. He's going through divorce or getting a divorce or.
He's divorced.
Okay, he's divorced. And this is part of the settlement. And so thank God we got a willing seller, because usually you don't have a willing seller. And
at $400 a spot.
a little less, I think it's 391. Yeah. 390, yeah.
Just to interject, and not to have this go back, so we don't need to do that. But just, there's a clear understanding why I abstained, and I should probably on the previous motion, is in my mind, I'm not against the idea of going higher up and getting more high rise in there. But I think as part of that, we are definitely in deficit of parks. And I think there should be, if it's an approval to go through with it, there should be a contingency that there's park purchased by that developer, donated back to the channel district is what I think needs to happen, because we're going to be struggling with trying to do it on our own. We need future developers to be buying property and give that back to the city, or giving us back to the parks area. If you follow what I'm saying. And I think in some case, didn't you do that?
We did. We did that, and we did it with the piece of land that the city just bought south, right by the parking garage for the Port Authority. There was a railroad spur that went up there, and we did a land swap where we paid the port $100,000 and gave up about 1,000 square feet of land to square it off, because otherwise the city wouldn't have bought it. So we made a contribution there, but as far as the way you solve the green space issue, and it's unfortunate the guy from the port left, is they got 40 acres. The master plan they came up with 15 years ago had a nice big kind of, it wasn't Curtis Hickson, but it was acres to be a bookend. That's where you solve that problem and don't have to spend a bunch of money, is when they come in with a new master plan, you make sure that there's a big central green space. That's the only way you're gonna solve the problem, to my mind. And you can partially solve it by activating the rest of the space below the crosstown where the dog park is. And Greg Slater and Vince Cassidy are willing to play ball to do that. That's how you do it. It's not, there's not a lot left to buy.
So if I had heard that, I probably would have changed my vote. I did not hear that. And then to me.
And Daryl's project has some green space too. It's Ybor Harbor, it has green space too. So while there's been dereliction to date, it doesn't mean it has to continue. There are ways to solve it.
So I'm sorry to take you through it, but just for an explanation on that. Okay, how do you want to proceed now on this?
Okay, what's the pleasure of this board? Do I have a motion? Proceed with,
Do you want to make your first motion or no?
I guess that's a big one. Should you make the motion? I feel like you've done all the research.
well, the chair can't make the motion.
Oh, I
Yes,
see.
yes.
Yeah. Check by Robert's rules of order.
Well, I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion that the CRA look at going through with purchase of property at 1127 and 1125 East Twigs.
Just read this exactly.
And order 33602.
And you can make, at that, you want to designate with contract.
And 1127, what's the address? Or just,
For the amount of
1127.
4,450,000.
No, I think it's 4.5.
Huh?
4.5.
Oh, okay. 4,500,000 as the purchase price.
And nobody else wants to jump in. I'll second that.
Okay, then we'll open it up for discussion. Any other further discussion? No discussion? Okay, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noes? So we excited.
Yes. Better late than never.
Well,
Well, now it becomes a park instead of a playground.
Well, the other thing real quick, just off the record, I think if the council approves this, we really need to look at a fresh canvas for that park. And here's why. The dog park, don't mess with that. It needs to be refurbished because it gets so much use. I've seen maybe 3 people play shuffleboard in 5 years. The pickleball court, all day, all night until they turn the lights out. The rest of the area was a performance area. It's got a little kiddie play area, which is nice. But the idea was that we were gonna have, kind of make it a mini Curtis Hickson. We were gonna have like performances and music events and stuff like that. 0. We've had 0 events in 5 years. So 40% of that park, and they put Bermuda grass in, which they didn't take care of, so now it's all dead. We really need to look at refreshing that park and really looking at what, because, I mean, look, like 40% of it, it's just, I mean, it's unfortunate, but, you know, the dog park, great, pickleball court, great. The putting green, some people use it, it's worn out. But the performance area is an absolute bust. It's an absolute bust. And, you know, if you want to put, you know, a couple volleyball courts there instead or something, we need to put something there for people.
and the nice thing is he's got the right to be there forever. You know, he was there before everybody was, and I believe in private property rights. But boy, that sure is going to get rid of an eyesore of having a bunch of.
It's arguably, except for the Helens ship people, and some of your buildings, the ugliest buildings in the town. And now that the oil tank farms.
Yeah. So.
The sidewalk, they fixed the sidewalk there, that was, because he's still talking his car on the sidewalk.
Yes.
And then they couldn't get the crane to do renewal.
We figured that out.
But all of a sudden that cars are now behind on property. Like they were on sidewalk.
Well, it's, you know, Tony's got another facility in Ybor City where he can still service his customers because he's the only
independent shop down there, but he's got another spot to go. And it's just, it's just time.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, everybody.
Listen, we're, any other new business?
Oh, the only thing is, can we get an update next meeting on Washington Street Park?
Yeah, and actually Ken is meeting with,
Thanks.
Ken
Thank
is
you
meeting
for
with
being
the
here.
planning team next week.
Okay.
Any other new business? Any old business? I see none. Thank you very much.
What time do I have to show up tomorrow? 9 o'clock.
No, public comment starts pretty much right away at 9.
Okay, what's the address?
It's Kennedy.
Right, the building, right?
I think it's 315 Kennedy.
Is the building,
Where
the old space lunch?
15 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
I took your suggestion. and
Yes,
I
take your
plugged in the-
seat.
Okay, so this should be what all you have to do is, yes, next week. Does anybody need a ticket to Fort Brooke?
So,
No? Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, you just, yeah, scan that.
Wonderful. I will.
What is for parking?
Yeah, yes.
good job, Andy.
Thank
All right.
you. Thank you
Courtney,
for
thanks for your help.
caring
You're
so much.
welcome. You're welcome. I follow
You
you
are
on.
by far.
I'm a big customer of his.
Are you?
Yeah, I am.
He's already at Ebor, isn't he?
I don't think he's there. Well, he's bought a place, but he's not
Oh,
operating
okay.
it, is what I heard.
Yeah, he said he's ready to move when he said he was ready to move a couple of years ago.
Did you walk?
I drove.
Yeah.
Right back.
Um,
I just couldn't pass it.
Courtney.
Did you get a parking door?
No, I pressed the street. I just had it study every hour. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we'll jump out because there's the lunch.
Okay.
In about 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Okay.
See y'all.
And,
Bye.
thank you,
Bye-bye.
guys. One of 100 people ask them for something. If they were there, one of the council members or CAC members jump on it, CRA members jump on it, there's gonna be a lot more response than you call it. I'm trying to get the heat off
Yeah.
because this can be every month. And all you're gonna be saying is, you're not gonna get anywhere.
Yeah, because I have been trying
And
for
you can
several
tell, you get
months.
frustrated, you know, and it's
Oh, no,
just,
I know, because I've been trying for several months. As the wheels turns.
oh, poor thing. And they're just not, let, this way, it's on them now. No, it's on the committee and the neighbors to get it done,
Yeah.
okay?
Mhm.
I mean, it's now they're part of the solution. Because if not, we'll just keep on, and it's just gonna keep on getting directed to you, and it takes good energy away from the room, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, we'll see, and then I'll invite Henderson, to a meeting so she can firsthand hear also.
Yeah, that's some council members, like Charlie. Charlie won't go to a meeting.
Right, I know he won't.
Yeah, and not because, the guy works, 18 hours a day. It's just he don't believe that.
Yeah, I heard him. I got an
Yeah.
he doesn't believe in doing that.
Yeah, he feels like it's heavy-handed and Linda Salsinas would show up every other meeting,
Mhm.
just to let you know the history.
Yeah.
So I guess everybody has their own preference. I don't know what Gwen's is.
Yeah, she will attend.
Yeah.
I think if we invite her, she'll attend. So.
Yeah.
Okay, I got CRA in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be tough.
It must be, whose contract is it?
It's,
Is it from CRA or our city real estate or?
it's just, this is it for space.
Okay.
That's what they asked me to do. So at this point, it's 1% of the speed.
So I can have that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. So has real estate seen? Okay,
But, just give it a shout.
okay. So I'll see if I can grab it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'll see where I work. So I'll try to grab it tomorrow.
Oh.
So anyway.
But at least as they said, now, they made a recommendation for the city. Yes.
Yeah, so I got real estate and all that stuff, so I gotta see what's next.
Okay, and then I talk to each one, educate them on the square footage and the price.
Okay,
We'll get it, we'll get it.
okay, yeah, slowly but surely.
Yeah, have a nice, be careful driving.
All right, thank you, too.